Hey you! So today we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Z Kai, The Lost Chapters Part 3. And before we jump straight into the review, why not hit that like button? Also, why not hit subscribe and click that notification bell so you get notified that there are more videos on the way, and there are a lot coming, which is all good. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump straight into the review. Let's talk about general information. We kind of leave off with Goten and Trunks fused as Gotenks actually fighting Majin Buu, and Gotenks is using an attack called the Kamikaze Ghost. Now that's all fine. It's very interesting to see how these sorts of things happen, and I was just like, oh, okay. Piccolo then blows up the door leading out of the hyperbolic time chamber because Gotenks has turned around and gone, oh no, I can't do this anymore, I've lost all my power, which is his way of saying that he wanted to bust out Super Saiyan 3, and this kind of freaks off Majin Buu, who pretty much just opens a dimension outside. Don't need that door, Piccolo. So yeah, there was kind of a lot of hijinks with this one. As soon as Buu escapes, Goten turns around and uses the Super Saiyan 3 technique to power up, to scream, to open a door, to actually jump outside the hyperbolic time chamber. Meanwhile, Buu has turned everybody into candy and eaten them, and I think I mentioned this in the second review. But this is one thing that actually freaked me out a lot, and with this one, there was no freaking out. No, oh no, it was okay. Oh, okay, they all turned into chocolate. Cool. There's a lot of fighting between Gotenks and Majin Buu, and unfortunately, due to the fact is that they kind of start losing, they kind of defuse. In the meantime, Gohan has arrived on Earth. He is super powered up to his ultimate form, which is one of my favorite characters in the whole of Dragon Ball Z. He is able to take on Buu, but then all of a sudden, what happens is Buu absorbs both Piccolo and Gotenks, so he completely fuses. At this point, old Kai has given his life to Goku, and Goku returns to Earth. In the meantime, because of the kind of the psychological damage that Piccolo can do, he has completely made Gohan not the greatest character, and Gohan is completely turning around and blaming himself for the loss of Piccolo and Gotenks. So Goku arrives, and all of a sudden Gohan is absorbed. We get some comedy elements with Goku looking at Hercule looking to fuse because old Kai has given him the Patara earrings to fuse together to make a new super warrior. So we see all this sort of thing. Vegeta has now been kind of, not resurrected, but his body wasn't kind of recycled and has now been sent to Earth. Goku then fuses with Vegeta to make Vegito the ultimate Saiyan warrior, and I've got to admit, Vegito is also one of my favorite characters. He then takes on Buuhan because Buu has absorbed Gohan. I don't know if I mentioned that, but because of this, he has now fused and is a lot stronger. So then they all have this back and forth of fighting until Vegito gets bored, gets shrunk, put inside to Buu's body, and thus therefore is able to free both everyone, all the people inside there, which then creates Kid Buu because the fat Majin Buu has been taken away from him, which then reverts him all the way back to his primal kid form, and so therefore they go off and fight on the world, the planet of the Kais, and then they win. That is pretty much everything in a nutshell. So let's talk about the special features. Again, you just get a commentary of just one of the episodes, which I have to admit, I actually really enjoyed it because it was fun to see all the characters kind of interacting and kind of talking and doing their voices. I think it's like when Chris Sabat just goes, "Fries!" I adored that. I think that was quite funny. And then you get some more trailers for some of the other fun animation projects. So normally I would do an overview, but I think I kind of really covered that in the beginning. So let's talk about the animation. Now, the animation, there wasn't a lot here that changed because, to be honest, it has just been a constant flow. You had some sort of kind of filter to kind of make it look softer at times, but I don't know if that helped. But to be honest, the animation is completely the same. We kind of switch between the chibi version of Mr. Satan and then obviously the kind of normal stuff. So yeah, there's not kind of really much a lot to change. So let's talk about the writing. I actually generally kind of really liked the writing in this one. It didn't really kind of focus on the kid element that they normally have. It wasn't oh, here is loads of stuff about Buu or Gotenks. It kind of went straight into the fighting, which I really liked. I loved the way that Gohan comes in. He is powered up fully and he beats Buu. I really liked how that was really written, but I don't like the fact that after that, Gohan becomes kind of a side-benched character. As soon as like Piccolo, Buu, whatever the version of Piccolo and Buu is, but as soon as like say Buu Tanks gets inside of Gohan's head, that's when Gohan just becomes you kind of think that with the writing the characters told Gohan not to let him get to him, but he does, and he just becomes the sort of character that becomes a sideline, like, hi, I'm a supporting character, not a big character. So the whole big reveal, the build up of Gohan just to become a side character and actually not be the one to finish this, I found this very kind of lazy. And I don't know if this was the way of the writers originally, or Toriyama was like, yeah, we want Gohan, and now I just want Goku, let's just make Vegeta, you know, that's this. I found this kind of very and it kind of did kind of annoy me. I think also the way that, say, Vegeta was written, he was an interesting character to me. I generally enjoyed his interaction with Buu, and it wasn't more of a, you know, I'm over cocky. He had a plan all the way through, and this generally like made it interesting for me. I kind of really wish they focused more on this compared to, say, Gotenks, because I generally think the whole Gotenks thing was really kind of badly done, and it wasn't my favorite thing out there. I think as soon as you get the kind of progression, it kind of focuses mainly on Goku and Vegeta, and I think that was kind of a bit of a letdown, is that you've got this entire kind of supporting cast not doing anything. And I generally was a bit Now, one thing that I did notice, and I was really gutted that they didn't put this in, is in the original, you had Deborah being really nice as a ghost, and he's interacting with Videl, Chi-Chi, and Bulma, and they didn't put this in, and I was really kind of gutted that they didn't, because I was expecting to see it, because I really wanted to see how they were going to do the character, you know, what it was like, but yeah, they kind of they didn't put it in, and I was a bit kind of gutted. Now, with the writing, I noticed that they changed certain lines. So mainly one of the biggest one is when Goku and Kid Buu are fighting, and Vegeta goes through this entire monologue, you know, saying like, you know, ever since he first arrived on Earth, he was beaten. You know, how he beat Frieza, how he went against Cell, I think. Basically, it's just a monologue mainly of them fighting and interacting. And then all of a sudden, in the original, Vegeta was like, you're the best, Kakarot. You know, you're better than me. But in this one, he's like, you're number one, Kakarot. And I was like, oh, that's really, that made me go, oh, that was, I wanted him to say, you're better than me rather than you're number one, because that meant that there wasn't a lot. Oh, it just, little subtle changes to the writing was a bit meh.
I see it now. This day has made it all too clear. You're better than me, Kakarot. You are the best.
I see it now. I fought to push down others. You only fight to push yourself. Hang in there, Kakarot. You are number one.
And I also generally thought there was more otherworld fighting. I generally thought there was, but it just seemed it was really quick. There was nothing there, and it was gone. Talk about the characters. The characters did change. So when you had Buuhan, he was more kind of like, he knew what to do. He knew he could easily take people down. And it wasn't a cockiness. It was just more that he was getting frustrated. So rather than him be like, oh, I'm dead cocky, it's more, I'm frustrated that I can't beat these guys. You know, he finally found a match in Vegeta where it's like, I can't do it. And he reacted very kind of outwards. Like there wasn't a lot that he could do that was out of his power. I can't remember if I saw it, but I don't think it was included. But it's the point when Buuhan turns around and gets so angry that he starts screaming and everything kind of starts falling apart. I think portals open and it looks like the Earth's going to be ripped apart. But it got to the point where that wasn't included, that I couldn't see, and I was actually quite gutted. Mainly because it was a big part to where like Buuhan was like, okay, I'm frustrated, but now I'm calm, you know, I've got all that anger out, I don't know why they didn't put it in and why they took certain elements out that they didn't leave in. It just felt a bit kind of pointless. When you've had so much stuff with Buu and Gotenks, this would have been an easier thing to do. Kid Buu was an interesting character because I wanted him to have a proper voice, not the boom boom boom, you know, ah, or, you know, just the evil maniacal laugh. I would have really liked him to actually talk a little bit more. I think that would have been kind of interesting. But he was just a generic bad guy at the end. It was just like, you're an overpowered character. I just thought there could have been a little bit more depth to him, but there just wasn't. It was just that, I am angry, I don't care, I'm going to destroy everything in my way. I previously mentioned Babidi and Bibidi. I didn't like because I felt like they were schoolyard bullies all the way. When you saw the kind of like the flashback to with Babidi, it felt like it was just like, oh, I can do what I want, you know, I've got this big powerful person next to me, you know, you can't do anything about it. And I generally thought that it was very, very schoolyard bully, like, oh, I've got the biggest person in the school looking after me. I generally thought that could have changed, but again, I can see that as his personality. Every single time that there was a kind of a dispute, it's like, if you don't do what I say, you're going back in the ball. And I found like that could have been an easier way of saying, I'm going to tell on you if you don't do what I do, and it's therefore kind of creating this sort of tension. What made this interesting for me? I think the main parts of the fighting with Vegeta versus Buuhan, I think that it was a dynamic, it was something different, and it was something that we kind of really wanted to see. We'd had all the goofy stuff previously with the other characters, and this was more serious. I like the way that it kind of progressed, and it wasn't just kind of slow. It was, this is the action, this is the action. One thing that I did find interesting was some of the elements that they cut. Especially since, say, the one where he's screaming, I can't really remember that part, but it's also when Vegeta finds out he's scared of giant tapeworms, or worms in general. So when they went inside Buu's body, it was like they found the pod straight away. It wasn't a search like you saw previously. I thought that they would have put that in there, or a little bit, because it's like, oh, we know where they are, let's go fly there. Where they had a little bit kind of a struggle in the original uncut or uncut versions. So this was kind of a very interesting thing. Also, the way that it quickly skips to Oob at the very end. I generally thought that was kind of 2 episodes, or I would have liked to see things kind of pan out rather than just, here's the tournament, we enter the tournament, there is Oob, Oob and I are gone. That's it. I would have liked to have seen more of that kind of flushed out, you know, seen some more of the fights rather than the kind of just normal stuff that you saw in it. I think there could have been more. I think that when editing this for broadcast or for the Blu-ray release, that they could have taken some elements away, they could have added some of the others that they'd taken away originally, and actually made a better version of this. So it's very interesting to see what they changed and how they changed it. So my final thoughts. In this one, I think that this makes up for the previous release that we've had. I generally really didn't like the fact that the previous ones were too heavily focused on Gotenks or Buu just flying around destroying stuff. This one was actually felt like a proper fight for me. You know, it felt like the progression of the anime moving forward rather than like kind of like kicking its heels in the sand and not doing much. So I was very happy that we saw Vegeta fight, but I think the fight could have been longer because it felt way too short to me. It was nice to see everything kind of remastered, redrawn, touched up. That's what I generally like. There are things now that when looking back at the anime, watching it in an older state, that I don't kind of agree, that I find kind of meh, and I couldn't really figure out why I found this boring. Now it's more like the anime just focuses on 2 characters, which is obviously Goku and Vegeta, and that's it. You know, they are the main characters, where you've got other animes, such as like, say, My Hero Academia, which focuses on a whole vast of characters, but doesn't kind of really leave that many people in the dust to kind of like simmer down or to lose power. And obviously, the time the anime was shot, this was completely different. I still love Dragon Ball Z, I still love Dragon Ball Super, I'm still going to continue them, but now watching this with different eyes and actually analysing it, you know, you can see that it's very one-sided. You have a lot of support characters, and then when you have characters that are beefed up to the max, all of a sudden they become side characters because you have Goku and Vegeta, they have to be stronger than anyone there. I think that near the end, where you have Fat Buu versus Kid Buu, is where you had this entire whole element. It's like at that point, as soon as Fat Buu was released, he was able to kind of fight, and it wasn't just the whole thing of like, woo, you know, I'm a clown. It was, I am there going to fight. I have a reason to do it. And it was a main focus, and that's what I really liked. It wasn't the same as what we've seen previously. Fat Buu or Majin Buu wanted to take down Kid Buu, and that was it. And I like the fact that he got more involved. We've seen him be more involved with that fight than he has in any other kind of, in any of Super, as well as like, you know, previously. I think that when looking back, the only person that has really grown is Vegeta. You know, he goes through this entire whole change, but he has had the most character development. You know, if he's able to put down his sort of pride and say, you're number 1, Goku, or, you know, you are better than me, it shows you how much that character has changed, rather than the generic, oh, well, you know, I'm going to stay the same, much as like some of the characters have in the series. I do kind of think they should have kept more of the insides of Buu, because I found that very interesting and funny when I was watching it originally on the uncut version compared to what we have now. So yeah, I think that they could have easily have changed a few things. To me, Dragon Ball Z will always be one of my favorite animes. I just think now, with looking at it on a fresh pair of eyes, it's completely changed, and obviously the way Super has kind of kept me engaged. Obviously, like, for me to get back into Dragon Ball Z, I had to watch Dragon Ball Z Abridged, which then showed my love for it. And then obviously when reviewing this, you know, there are memories that I have taken away and gone, oh, I completely forgot about that, or that's really funny. That still holds up from what it was back then to what it is now. And especially seeing the characters like kind of evolve and change, bar Goku, because he pretty much stays exactly the same. So Rangers, what are your thoughts on this? Do you agree with everything that I say? Do you love Dragon Ball Z? Do you hate Dragon Ball Z? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you've liked this video, like, favorite, comment, and consider subscribing. Check that notification bell at the bottom to be notified for brand new videos when they come out. And as always, Rangers, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.